Podcast. I'm Mark the Caddy, joined as always by my sidekick, colleague, friend, and fellow looper, Nick. We're excited to talk to you about how the game of golf and life intersect so well. Now we can learn lessons that help us to grow in both arenas, certainly on the golf course, and then most importantly as people as we take our next shots. We are brought to you, as always, by Zero Restriction. Check them out at zerorestriction.com. Type in the promo code BestBall20. Get yourself a little discount on your rain gear and other swag needs. They're the best in the business. And so you want to look good, feel good, perform well, go to zerorestriction.com. All right, Nick, how you doing here today on this U.S. Open beginning day?
Yeah, opening day for the U.S. Open. That's pretty awesome. I didn't really get to watch much of it. I was kind of at the driving range myself, to be honest. But apparently guys are going a lot lower than I thought. So maybe Oakmont's not as tough as they said.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here because it's still like higher average scores than, ever. So there's a few guys who played this morning who benefited from the easier conditions out there. So the leaderboard is subject to change quite a bit. So, I think the reason you brought that up was because this week it was like doom scrolling on X, if you're in the golf world.
Oh, yeah.
That, all the videos of putting the ball in the rough and seeing it bury, news about the putting green basically being an ice rink. How the projected score. How the projected winner might be over par. Got me to thinking, do you like the carnage? Do you like to see them suffer and struggle?
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love seeing that stuff. I mean, not if I'm like caddying for someone, I don't want to see them struggle, but if I'm watching it on TV, absolutely, yes. Yeah, that's what makes it interesting.
I think the U.S. Open now has the reputation that this is the tournament a year that we're going to try to not have these guys go super low.
Oh, yeah.
And, you got to make the course difficult to do that, and Oakmont's a difficult course. And certainly some of the things they've done to make it tougher for these players have just been huge news. I've never seen anything like it, and maybe this is just the dawn of social media really, really picking up, but the talk about the course, I've never seen anything built up like this to where I'd be scared to go and play there. Absolutely terrified.
I would be terrified to caddy for you there.
And actually, I watched a little this morning, and I was like, I guess part of me is like expecting every single putt to just roll off the green or whatever, because they've built it up so much in your mind. But yeah, you mentioned, the leaderboard has a couple of people under par, but really the last I saw was the average score was 4 or 5 over par.
Okay.
And there were there's only a few guys under par as of today. And Scotty Scheffler is still the favorite as of the end of day one. The odds-on favorite I saw, and I believe he was 1 over. Or at least he was through 12 holes, so I don't know what he finished at. Probably should have known that before we got on a podcast to talk about the U.S. Open, but we're really not.
We're not golf analysts, all right? Yeah.
Well, and we're not doing so much a prediction or a preview show because by the time people listen to this, it's either going to be like half over or even over by the time. And
True.
And even day one is over by the time we're recording this. But what I thought was really interesting is the question that pops up all the time is, what would you shoot at a course like that? And then it got me thinking, of course, what would our players shoot at a course like that? And really, okay, so you had a golfer recently who shot 72 at Whistling Straits and was a very good golfer.
Yeah.
What's your guess for what he would shoot at Oakmont?
Oh, man,
what tee box did he play, by the way?
He played greens, which is like 70 or 6,700. So, I mean, maybe probably a little shorter than what they're playing this weekend at Oakmont. But I wouldn't even have ventured to guess. I don't know, 85, I guess, would probably be pretty close. I mean, it's like that course is just so souped up. Like it's nothing against him at all. Like he's an awesome player.
Well, that sounds like tons better than what they're projecting. I
Yeah.
saw a few, influencers played like Riggs, and he got 106, and actually that seemed low to me.
Yeah.
Based on what they were saying. So, but he says he's a 4 handicap, I don't know how accurate that is. I mean, we have plenty of players at our own course, which is a hard course.
Oh, yeah.
But plenty of players shooting 90s and 100. You remember the player shooting 72 and have talked about him to me a couple of times because it rarely ever happens.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
I think, you take them to a course with greens that are rolling at 15 on the stimp meter. You take them to a course where the rough, you can't even find the ball if you're standing over it.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to say most people are shooting over 100, and there's no shame in that, So, I mean, there were certainly players today who are the best in the world in the 80s. So, why would we expect not to be? So, man, oh man, I think it's cool. These players, golf is almost for some of these guys, the courses, especially if they can bomb it and their driver's on for a weekend, the scores get so low. These guys are so good.
Yeah.
Let's just see a different way once. So the big things you've heard about are the greens and the rough there. What are the conditions? Are those the conditions you would say for our players that cause the most struggles? Or the biggest difference between somebody who comes out and has the potential to shoot, let's say if somebody has the potential to shoot 85, but they shoot 110.
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason for that?
I think they probably don't play in wind very often and cannot manipulate their ball flight. If you can't manipulate your ball flight, hit like a draw or a punch, or if you can't fade a ball into a crosswind or hit a draw into a crosswind, I mean, I think you're probably going to struggle a little bit just because the wind's going to take your ball whichever way it wants. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that if I was to say, okay, so these pro golfers in the U.S. Open, if the difference between them shooting 70 and 80 is the greens and the rough, there's no doubt that would cause scores to go up at our course. But really, it's the weather, I think, that causes the wind being number one. Certainly it impacts the golfers at the U.S. Open level, but not to the degree that it does our players. If we had the wind that we get sometimes and then combined it with those conditions. But last year, I remember we really let our rough grow out pretty thick and stuff. And there were days where it was just a nightmare out there. And certainly green speed I have found is relative. You'll hear people in the same group. One person thinks they're fast and one person thinks they're slow. Yeah. And it's really based on where they play, To
be honest, I think our greens are like average speed, to be completely
they're
honest.
average. Yeah. And you'll hear some people say, oh, they're lightning. And then you'll have others who will be my
slow.
country club is faster. I expected these to be faster. So at the U.S. Open, the penalty for being a little bit off is going to be so pronounced. Okay, you miss the fairway by a few yards, you're in this rough. You go a little bit past the hole, now you've rolled down forever. And I would say the biggest complaint I will get from players who come out by us, and I'm talking above average players of some sort, people who know how to navigate a golf course.
Yeah.
If they don't like our golf course, which is very few people, but if they don't like it, it's usually because they cannot handle that some good shots or not bad shots are kind of penalized because the course is hard. Yeah. And so you miss the fairway by a few yards, you end up in a fairway bunker, and now you're hitting it into a ridge 3 shots in a row.
Yeah.
I think some people really struggle with that if they hit the ball well, they should have a good outcome.
Yeah. I mean, that's golf. You're gonna get good breaks from bad shots and bad breaks from good shots. That's golf. Everyone knows that. You gotta just stay even keel, And I think that those are the best people, or the people that succeed the most are the ones that can understand that stuff. To be completely honest, the guy Scott I had yesterday was just like completely even keeled the whole day and like just had an amazing mindset. So that was awesome.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think that I can see the frustration with a player, and I feel helpless as a caddy so on our second hole, for instance, it's a par 5. And about 20 yards short of the front of the green.
Oh, bunker,
there's just
this,
there's
30,
just this pot there's just this pot bunker in the middle of the fairway, okay? And usually we're 200 yards away from the front of the green on a shot or something, or very often. And you can tell your player, there's a bunker there. How many players are really good enough? Like, sometimes the ball's just going to end up in that bunker, for crying out loud. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like the worst caddy in the world if it happens, because and they're just devastated sometimes because it's early enough in the round yet where they haven't realized this is going to happen out here.
Yeah.
And it's a good shot, like right down the middle. But there just happens to be a pot bunker there, just short of the green. And so you got to be able to emotionally handle that pretty well. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to just be miserable.
Agreed. Question. Do you on the approach shot, do you tell them about the bunker or do you not tell them about the bunker?
It depends on how I've seen them hit the ball so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, you kind of got to play it by ear because I'm like probably half and half, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, if a guy can't hit the ball well, you're going to tell your guy who is maybe trying to get to the front of the green in 2, and can actually hit the ball.
Yeah, you want to tell him, for sure.
Yeah, if a guy's like 5 shots in already, I don't see the value, I guess, I think that I remember one time there was a player and he had played at Erin Hills. And so a lot of people add that on. And I'm one who's like, it's a different kind of great. I don't like to compare great to great. I want people to love both places. I want people to have memories at both places. But I would say that because of our majestic views, usually Whistling Straits would be the favorite of the 2 courses for people. Okay. Yeah. But I remember this one person in particular just kept the whole round telling how much better Erin Hills was. And the whole reason why was because he ended up in, bunkers where he didn't like ending up in bunkers or whatever. Yeah. And I remember I vividly remember this, on the 16th fairway, he just missed. It rolled off left. All of a sudden, he's in this long, messy fairway bunker, waste bunker type of thing. He just gave up. And then on the 17th tee box, he just laid down and started taking a nap. We were waiting for the group in front of us or whatever. And he was just despondent because things weren't going his way. Yeah. And so it is what it is. So I'm picturing what would these types of people do at Oakmont? You hit a putt a little too fast and people are going to go ballistic. What's the toughest course you've ever played besides ours?
Yeah, probably Erin Hills. Yeah, it's pretty tough. Trying to think of what might be a close second. Oh, the Bull's really tough.
I was going to say, I think the Bull is harder.
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the area, close. We happen to have another top 100 course here in Sheboygan County called the Bull, a Nicklaus course, and it's beautiful. And a lot of forced carries and stuff like that. So for people like me who, don't always hit the ball flush or in the air like you'd like, it can be a tough course. Yeah. So I hear from our golfers who go to public places, the only course I ever hear compared with as being as difficult is Kiowa Island Ocean Course.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What do you hear? What other ones do you hear?
As far as difficulty, the where they're having the Ryder Cup.
Bethpage Black. I was going to say that one.
Black. Yeah, I've always heard that's really tough. Oakmont, I've heard, obviously is very tough.
Well, I'm thinking public courses first because I'm sure there's plenty of private.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear Pine Valley super hard and some others, and Oakmont.
Pine Valley number 2, I think, is pretty tough with the with the greens, the turtleback greens, obviously.
I hear Pinehurst number 2 as far as putting is like the hardest people have been to. And then Ocean Course, I always hear about, like I said. Yeah, Bethpage Black, maybe just because it's super long or something. I think that's what people reference with it.
It's pretty thick too, yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had a golfer from Oakmont?
Yeah, I have. I think 2 years ago I had some guys from Oakmont, yeah.
And what I think there's something distinctive. I've had a few different, and I think there's something distinctive about them when they come to our course.
Yeah, I mean, they're very conscious of the pace of play. I heard they're very, very tough on that, but they're also very good putters. Because
that's what I was going to say. They're very good putters.
Yeah, they respect speed. They've mastered the art of lag putting, which we both talked about how important that is, especially at our course. So yeah, that was awesome. I mean, those are probably some of the best putters I've ever caddied for. Where it's nice to know that your reads are mattering all day, right?
Right. No, that's what I remember too, is that they weren't fazed by the speed of the greens, and they putted well. And I do remember that like they must have pace of play beaten into them. But that's a general country club thing all around, is that people who belong to clubs tend to respect pace of play a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard they're very serious at Oakmont about it. Like they'll give you one warning, and then the next one, like the member gets some kind of pretty severe penalty, maybe like suspended for a month or something.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I saw Neil Shipley.
Yeah.
He's a member there, and
oh really?
Yeah, he grew up caddying there, but he was talking about how it's like a blue collar course.
Oh, okay.
It costs $200,000 to join.
My collar's not that blue, I guess.
My goodness gracious! So, yeah, that $200,000 to join is what I read yesterday. So, but I think they take a lot of pride. I saw somebody on an interview this morning. They take a great deal of pride in hosting the U.S. Open, and I think it's a great U.S. Open site.
Agreed.
I like the way they're doing the U.S. Open now with the what kind of there's a rotation among some of the courses like Pinehurst and this that we'll see more regularly and stuff. So, do you ever feel like, though, Nick, on the topic of hard golf courses, do you ever feel like you just need to go play somewhere easy so that you feel better about yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. If I had to play our course, I tell people this all the time. If I had to play our course every time, I'd probably quit playing golf.
Right?
Because we always get asked that question. Yeah. Do you play this course a lot? I'm like, no. I try not to. Yeah.
I think people are it's so funny. People seem so shocked when we tell them we don't come out and walk Whistling Straits every night. No, it's like
it's too hard.
You're about to die here, and we're on hole 8, man. Right. We're carrying 2 bags, and you think we're going to come out and play again tonight? But no, I always say, like, you can't get beaten up like this every round of golf. It's got its place.
It's a special occasion for sure. Yeah,
but it's not an everyday golf course as far as hacks like us, it's too hard. And so you need to have your confidence built and your game honed at some easier types of places and stuff. So do you think, though, do you think that our players, if you had to guess, do you think the majority like how hard it is, or just simply are ill prepared and end up leaving disappointed in their score and stuff? Or do you get what I'm saying?
That's a great question. Yeah. Man, I'm going to say 60-40 that they don't know how hard it is. I'm going to say 60% don't know how hard it is. Yeah.
I think that, and maybe theoretically they do, but in practice, I think they've envisioned that they can come and conquer it. And some do.
Yeah.
You had a guy, play well. I had a guy yesterday in our group who played really well as a high handicap. We don't want to scare people.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think people think, they're going to conquer the beast and stuff, but they just maybe don't know. And so I'm thinking, you go to a place like the U.S. Open where there's so much talk about it and stuff. I'm just picturing the average Joe. Do they like it? Do they want that once in a while? I'd say yeah. But I would say that there's a certain percentage of them who are going to be able to laugh about it, get a kick out of it, respect it for what it is. And then there's a certain percentage who have built up in their head they're going to go and play like one of the pros and have a day, and they're going to be pouting a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they experience it at a place like Oakmont just like we do and stuff. All right, the first day's done at the U.S. Open as of the recording of this. JJ Spawn is in the lead at -4. Based on what you've heard and seen, who is your winner moving forward, and what do you think the final score is going to be?
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm going to say Scotty. I'm a donkey. Yeah, I know it's uninteresting, but how can you bet against him right now? He's so good, you know.
Yeah,
yeah.
What do you think he's going to score? Above or over par or under par?
I'll say under. Yeah, he's too good. Yeah, I'd like to see a score above par win though.
Yeah, I either want Scotty, Ludwig Oberg, or John Rahm to win.
Okay.
And I get into this thing where I just assume John Rahm has to win at some point to remind everybody that he's great. Because he is a great golfer. And until he went to live, he was, spoken of at the top. And I think people have forgotten him a little bit. And so I think that he's due, Ludwig Oberg, I just love him and I love his game. And I think that for somebody who's consistent and mentally strong, maybe this is the type of tournament you win.
True.
But how do you go against Scotty?
Yeah, I know. It's too good.
And he's always leading greens in regulation, and this seems like the kind of tournament where that's going to matter and stuff. So, some of the bombers who are just used to getting out of junk because they hit so far, maybe this isn't the tournament they win. Yeah. That's why I wasn't thinking somebody like Bryson. Maybe this isn't his game. I don't know. But I love the idea of thinking about it being hard. I just wouldn't want to caddy it every day. Man, you read a putt sometimes, and we know how much speed impacts a putt, whether somebody makes it or misses it. And I can't imagine doing it there. I just can't.
No.
Based on knowing what I know, I think it would be an absolute nightmare. And so I'm assuming it's a little easier for their normal members and their guests and stuff. So, all right, Nick, hopefully we enjoy the tournament. It's also Father's Day weekend. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to being out on Sunday on the course early with a father and son. And then spending some time with my own kids, namely my son, because my others are all gone for the weekend and out of the house or whatever. But yeah, it's a great weekend to watch the tournament, and so let's have some fun with it. Before we do that, though, let's close with our good caddy, bad caddy segment. What's something you did good this week?
I hope I have some good karma coming my way. I offered one of the new caddies a chop the other day, and he turned me down. So we got done with the loop, and I had made quite a bit more than him. And I threw him $50 because I felt bad for him. So hopefully I got some good karma coming my way. What else are you gonna do? Do you think that's a good thing to do, Mark? Would you do that?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I am a believer in that. In helping out the other caddy. I think that actually I had one that I recently gave some extra to because his player tipped me the same that he tipped him, and I didn't think that was right, so I just gave him what his player had given me. So, for me, I just got done. This is something I'm proud of. So I run, promos for my book, sell a certain number of copies, give away a free round of golf, and so today was the first person who cashed in for the season, a father and son kicking off Father's Day weekend, and so, I'm not breaking the bank doing this. As a matter of fact, probably lose money a little bit on some of them. Yeah. And but it's a way of giving back a little bit, showing some gratitude, getting more people out there. Yeah. And so I'm really thankful for the opportunities that I have. And it was neat to see them out there playing together. It meant a lot to them. And so then it means a lot to me. And I'm really proud and thankful to be able to do it. And I'm going to keep doing it. And hopefully I'll be able to meet more people who otherwise wouldn't have this bucket filled. And that is to come to one of the most beautiful places in America. Mm-hmm. What's something you would take back from this week, Nick?
Oh, probably just trying to better word my my negative thoughts, I guess. You know, if somebody's screwed in a bunker, try to figure out how to eloquently say, let's just get it back into play, you know, rather than saying, you know, you better wedge this out because you're screwed right now, you know. So trying to figure that out, trying to do my best, mark the caddy and speak more eloquently about that.
Oh, golly gee. What are you trying to butter me up for? What do you need?
Nothing.
No, you know, there's a challenge this last week, and really it's been a couple weeks now, where there's a few holes. Yesterday there was one where I'm like, I've never seen this pin position before.
Yeah.
On the 12th hole, yes. Did you work yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah, I did. My guy Scott almost got a hole in one on that hole. Actually, he was like 2 feet away.
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen the pin there. Anyway, so and I find that I was maybe irritated or not as confident on a few reads because of that, you know, like, I think that you can't let that show and stuff. And whenever you do a read of a putt or really anything out there without confidence, it exudes and the player can feel it, and then they're not hitting confidently and stuff. But it's popped up a little bit in the last week or two where I'm like, I'm not so sure based on where the pin is. There's just been some new positions, and so I got to get better at learning what a few of those are. I don't even know if they'll be consistent, but there's just been a few of them. And I think the player can see it when you're not confident, and I don't like that. So we got to be careful about it. Although I think they like humility when you say, I'm not sure because this is new and let's, you know, whatever. Yeah. So, I just wish they would put everything in an easy place because the course is hard enough.
Put it in a bowl.
Let's make people happy. And it's not like people are playing it 2 days in a row. Let's just find all the easiest places and keep stuff there.
Agreed.
That's my opinion.
Love that, Mark.
I declare myself the whatever.
Mark's the pin setter the rest of the year.
Yeah. So, all right, Nick, happy U.S. Open weekend. Happy
buddy.
Father's Day weekend. I hope you don't have a bunch of little Nicks running around Sheboygan and from your younger years. But I just like making you blush. I can see it. I can see it through the computer.
Yeah. Thanks, bud.
And hey, we want to remind you guys, and this is truth. Absolute truth, and I'm reminded of it every day. No matter how far out of bounds, no matter how broken, no matter how deep the bunker, no matter how dark and gloomy it seems, this is the real deal. That on this side of the ground, there is always a next shot, and it's full of hope and opportunity. So take yours.